we're set to go.
All right, fantastic, thank you, Elizabeth. I'm so sorry for being late. I had that pesky 6 o'clock newscast that I had to wrap up and rush right over here. But as she mentioned, I'm super excited to be able to moderate this event. One more time, this is such a cool place and a cool time to be able to have your words to our candidates tonight. So we're going to start things out, if we're ready to go, by standing and doing the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. You may be seated. Well, we would like to start things out by thanking our event sponsors for this evening. That's the League of Women Voters, the NAACP, the Tribune Star, and of course the Vigo County Public Library. If we could, please give them a round of applause. Without them, tonight would not be possible, and we just want to give a quick reminder that even in a disagreement, respectful communication and behavior is required. Yelling, using profanity, and speaking abusively are certainly not allowed, and of course we will not have issues, I'm sure, with any of those. So we're going to start things out by introducing our candidates, and we are going to have you say your name and the district in which you are in, and we will give you 1 minute to give an opening statement, just kind of about your platform, who you are, so that people can get to know you. Also, oh, by the way, Robbie, if you don't mind, could you wave your hand or
That's me, and
yes. So Robbie's very important. She will be our timer, and she has some cue cards there. She has a card that says 30 seconds and a card that says stop. So as it mentions, when you see 30 seconds, you have 30 seconds left, and when you see stop, that means please stop. So simple as that. All right, we're going to start with County Commissioner District 1, Brendan Kearns.
I get to be the opening guy, Ron?
You get to be the opening guy.
Well, you know, I'm kind of bashful, so I'm not sure how I'm going to handle this. So I serve as District 1 Commissioner. I'm wrapping up my first term. District 1's kind of a unique area. Our districts run north to south. I have Nevins, Lost Creek, a large portion of the eastern side of Harrison Township. I have Riley and Pearson Townships. When I got in office, I realized that a lot of those outlying areas were neglected over the years. So my focus in the last 3.5 years has been taking care and putting attention towards it. As a League of Women Voters event, I do want to share that I've tried very hard and been very successful as appointing females in positions on boards. That's something that we haven't seen over the years, is diversity, so I've worked hard to make sure, and now I got the cue to use this, sorry, to make sure that we have good females represented on our boards.
All right, thank you very much, Brendan Kearns. And next to him, we will have another commissioner candidate, Mark Clinkenberg.
Thank you. I wanted to thank you all for having me tonight. Appreciate you putting this on. It's always look forward to getting to talk to new people, new voters. My name is Mark Clinkenberg. I'm a candidate for the commissioner resident also. But we love the community. She is a nurse, and I, together, we own Mark Clinkenberg Construction. It's a business that we started back in 1996. And it's that experience, that's not happening right now. You know, we're losing that younger generation, and I want to stop that.
Thank you very much. All right, so if you look and see County Council District 3, and begin with Vicki Wager.
Well, I'm Vicki Weber, and I've lived here to Fruit Ridge more or less. This is my first term. I got caucused in, and I'm proud to be around this long. I worked for Birch Bayh, Vance Hardkey, Larry.
I was actually living in Japan when the realization slowly dawned on me that Terre Haute Vigo keeps my family here in the last 40 years. I have ran my own business here. I have participated in things happening.
Vote Vigo and NAACP for giving me this opportunity to introduce myself. Better jobs, better public, better jobs, better public safety, and thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you to all of our candidates for your opening.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you to all of our candidates for your opening statements. We're going to move along now. It says, Vigo County judges are seeking support from commissioners. How do you view the importance of supporting changes to the Vigo County court system compared to other construction projects? And this is, again, about a minute, if we can.
I believe that we have those. I said I want a new juvenile center, the one team effort, but it's not our decision on what that goes with the courts. So again,
Juvenile court, and I will have to do some homework on this issue.
Vigo County judges to support funding a new juvenile court. What is your view?
Council does not make the final decision. What the county council does is they make the decision on the money. Will they approve the money for any kind of expansion? The time to come to an understanding as to why and whether I think it's worth it for the people that I represent.
Children is money well spent, and I think that anything we can do to improve our juvenile court system is that's the best thing that we can do. Our juvenile court system functions pretty well here, considering the limited funds that we've been able to give to them, and I'm all for improving what we have, and our judge is great, and our executive director of the system is really very good, and they work so hard to help those kids.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
First, I would say the children are our future. If the funding allows, I would say yes, we should.
All right. Thank you very much. Okie dokie. We have one more, and thank you very much, Elizabeth, for bringing in our public League of Women Voters. And it is to all of our candidates for both commissioner and for county council. And the question says, quote, money from the American Rescue Plan must be obligated by December of 2024 and expended by December of 2026. What would you plan for the use of the remaining funds? Who would like to take that one? Go ahead.
That's the ARPA money. That's we kind of got a standoff going with that. The council, some of the council folks are demanding from the commissioners that they lay out a plan how to spend the ARPA money. We got $20 million from the federal government. That was, for the emergency situation with COVID and so forth. I'm not sure that that's a great idea to demand what are you going to spend all this money for right now. We got through 24 to say what we're going to spend it for. What happens, we say, okay, we're going to spend it all on this, and then the courthouse ceiling falls in. We've already committed we're going to spend it on blah, 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 blah. I don't think that the council ought to lock the commissioners into any kind of a plan that, the commissioners are fairly responsible contrary to popular opinion. I think that, that's a joke, you guys. I except for Brendan. Anyway, I think that we need to let the commissioners make the decisions on that sort of thing, and we approve it just job by job.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, if you've attended any of the last county council meetings, you're correct, or Vicki is correct, that there's been a lot of consternation between commissioners and council on what to do with the money and everything. It's unfortunate that this large chunk of money that was sent to Vigo County from the federal government and everything had these strings attached there. I don't quite see the reasoning for those time limits, but that's what it is and everything. It's up to the county council to determine, again, how that money, what approvals they will give for the spending of that money. And like the previous question, everything, there's all kinds of demands across the board. If a consensus can't be reached by the county council on their approval, then what I would recommend, what I would support, would be to take as large a chunk of that money as possible and use it to reduce the property tax levy.
Thank you very much. And this is for both commissioners and for county council, so whomever would care to answer on either side, yeah.
Well, I totally understand the council wanting to have a plan. I mean, I think we should have a plan. We don't want to just go start throwing money out there. Some things that I would like to see it used for economic development, possibly a youth complex, sports complex on the east side. The east side is what's going to be growing. There's a big draw for that. I would want to see a plan because, again, I don't want to see wasted spending.
Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. So I've been involved in this project since February. Is Chris Schweitzer still here? Chris and I, Mike Morris, Mayor Duke Bennett, we've come together to the table to figure out how to spend the money. City of Terrell, and I know I got to talk fast, and I hate this. $38 million for the city, $20 million for the county. There are strings attached. The federal government tells us what to do. The commissioners are in charge of that money. It's us. We're the ones that make the decision of where those dollars go. The council, as a process, has to approve it. Somehow there's been a hiccup. We've been working together with the mayor to figure out how we can invest those dollars for the benefit of Vigo County as a whole, not just one area. A plan will be released soon. We are so close to doing it, but protocol follows. We want to do it through the council because that's their request. You cannot use that money to bring down taxes. You cannot use it for programs. It has to be for infrastructure. Yes, there is a component in there to build an aquatic center, recreation center on the east side. But what about the people in the city of Terre Haute? How are the poor people going to be able to get to that facility out east? Those are things that we have to look at. Let's build it here. Let's make it easier for everybody to access or provide transportation.
All right, thank you very much. All right. Go ahead.
I think for me to make an educated decision, I would have to do some more research on that. Thank you.
All right. All right, and so we're about to go into the public portion, and these are questions that were submitted by members of the audience today. I just want to give a quick kind of follow-up to those who may feel as though 1 minute is a little too short. That was the time that was agreed upon by the sponsors, so maybe we can have a conversation about that in the future, but it will be 1 minute for tonight. The good news, though, is that we have a good hour to get through all these questions. So if we need to circle back to something and we have time, we can do that. And then from, I believe, 8 o'clock to 8:30, you have a chance to talk with each and every person in this audience to expand upon whatever point you want to expound upon. So even though it may not necessarily be able to be up here, you will have time to get your points across. So, all right, let's in the county. And again, this is for both commissioners and for county council members.
Can I do it?
You absolutely can.
We're dealing with issues right now with infrastructure collapsing. We failed in the last 10 years to identify that these things will probably start collapsing. Culverts were built with steam in them. That's how we built culverts. Well, that iron has collapsed, so now we've got to fix that. The average price for a culvert, anybody want to guess? $500,000. Not very well. So when we talk about let's get this certain team in there, guys, they're the ones that are failing us right now. We are now working hard. We're doing engineering studies. We know what needs to be built. The challenge is we need the funding to do it.
All right, thank you very much.
That's stop.
That was stop, yes.
Well, I would just say that as a commissioner, yes, roads are our biggest priority, and if we have culverts that are failing, we need to find a way to fix those as soon as possible. So that would be our immediate need. Looking forward to continue to grow our economy here, at some point, we're going to have to look at how we can work with the private sector to bring about new housing, affordable housing in the area. So, and that's something that I would like to look at. I mean, get used to this 30-second thing. But that's something I would like to look at long-term, is how we can bring about more affordable housing in the area, and that might require some infrastructure improvements for sure, whether that be in the city or in the county.
All right, thank you very much.
One thing that the commissioners have done in recent times is to hire Larry Robbins to be the county engineer. Larry is really spectacular in reorganizing the highway department, the engineering department. We set up a GIS department, and it just is going so well. Now, Larry has prioritized all the culverts in the counties, and the ones that were just dastardly, there were 4 to 6 of them that were collapsing, and they have repaired those. And they've now got them numbered in the order that they're going to work on them. And I hope Brendan gets a chance to tell you about the Lewis roads that they repaired down in Lewis Township, and how they're working on those things. And they've got a really good system working now. So that's the kind of things that Larry has done.
Well, I'll sound like a broken record. Economics is about scarcity. There is no such thing as solutions. There are only trade-offs. That's all there is. If you had gone to some of the county council meetings over the last several months, you would have learned that the Vigo County approved money to make a new trail out in Riley. And so what's more important, a trail or fixing the culverts? Well, at the same county council meetings, there were employee groups coming because they felt like they needed raises. There's choices, there's trade-offs that have to be made in all of these areas and everything. You have to prioritize what's more important. Is trails more important or is culverts more important? Well, a couple months ago, obviously, trails were more important, and now culverts are important. There's got to be some type of plan that has reached by the commissioners with the approval of funding by the council to fund the highest priority projects, not the things that everybody wants that sounds pretty cool or lots of fun. It has to be something that is truly a priority.
Very much. Pass. All right. Next question, and this again is for both commissioner candidates and county council candidates. Do you think that some parts of Vigo County are not getting as much help or resources as other parts of the county? If so, what area would you like to see improvements?
Could I take that first?
Absolutely.
That's what I'm hearing. One thing that I've tried to do is to do different meet and greets in different parts of the counties that feel like they're underserved, whether that's in Evans Township or whether that's down in Blackhawk. There are people do feel that way, and that's what I'm trying to do is listen to them. So I would just say yes, there are those parts that we need to look at, and we can't just say, okay, we're going to pave a street here because it's got more residents, but what about these streets that are crumbling on the north end?
Second part of that question was, if so, what areas would you like to see improvements?
Well, I do think that the north end needs some help for sure. And beyond that, I know that, Prairie Creek in that area, again, this is a big county. I know that they feel left out too. So I would say those two areas.
All right, thank you. Second.
I'm going to do my speed dating version, Robbie, real quick. Okay, two things. Nevins Township, people didn't touch it for years. I got in there. I started demolishing homes, not personally. We started blighted homes, gone, ditch improvements. Farmers are happy. They're reaching out saying thanks. We've never seen this kind of attention. We're paving miles. We've done, since I've been in office, we've paved 182 miles and improved surfaces. Vicki teed me up for Lewis. I was there today. We paved the town of Lewis, Indiana. Do you know how many people live in Lewis, Indiana? Probably 10. Here's why we did it. Because the amount of money we were spending on filling potholes and taking guys from the south unit, 2 guys in a truck going down, coming back, taking 3-4 hours out of their day, once, sometimes twice a week. We paved it, cost a little over $100,000. Those roads are good for 20 years. That's being fiscally responsible. That's being smart. That's also paying attention to people that were not being paid attention to before.
Thank you. Council candidates, anyone? Oh. Go ahead.
Well, just very shortly, I've been an observer of local government for quite a few years. Back in 2000, when I was on the Terre Haute City Council, in the interim between then and now, I've done research and writing for an organization called the Indiana Policy Review. And when you look at local government and everything, it does go through phases where it seems like here in Terre Haute, Vigo County, it seems like the east side of Terre Haute got tremendous amount of attention at the expense of the north side. I've heard that quite a bit. But the bottom line is that if the justification is made to pursue a particular project, even if it occurs more often in one particular area, as long as the justification is there, then I would see no reason why a county council wouldn't approve it.
I live on the east side, and sometimes when driving on the east side, I think I'm driving on the third world country. But there is some parts of the city that do need more attention. For example, when you go out in the country and some of the country roads way south, those roads really do need attention, especially on the far end where the farmers are.
Thank you very much. Next question, again, to both county council and commissioner candidates. Are county taxes too high, about right, or too low?
Too high.
All right.
I'd like to ask everybody in the room if they know what their county tax rate is. Because what I found in, most people don't know that. What they hear is when my taxes are going up for something, then everybody kind of gets upset and starts paying attention. I live in Lost Creek Township. We advocated recently to raise the tax rate just a little bit, pennies on the dollar, literally pennies on the dollar, to buy a new fire truck. You know how much a fire truck costs nowadays? When we started the process, it was $300,000. That was a year ago. We ordered it at $600,000+. Yes, I was okay with my taxes going up, Rondrell, because the Kearns household lives at the end of a private road in a big log house. If that catches on fire, it's going. I want to be able to have those fire trucks, good fire trucks, safe fire trucks, come down, and I will spend an extra $10 a year for that. So are our taxes too high? I don't know. The feedback that I get is people really like it here and they think it's an affordable area. Guys my age that are retiring, they're coming back to Terre Haute because why? Good quality of life and cheap taxes.
One thing I hear from the guys who come here to build their companies here, they say, oh, one thing we like about this place, it is cheap to live here. Sound like they might know what they're talking about. Maybe they don't, but I didn't tell them different.
My answer to that is yes, taxes are definitely too high. When you look at the amount of taxes that you pay to the federal government, to the state government, to local government, the taxes that you don't even know that you pay in terms of sales taxes that are hidden in your restaurant bill or anything like that, if you truly were able to sit down and calculate how much you pay in taxes, it would make you heartsick. And then on top of that, you have the most evil, vile tax of all, and that's inflation imposed on us by the federal government by their virtue of them printing money and monetizing debt. That's not anything that we can do as a local county council, but we can certainly take a real close look at the amount of money that we approve. In the end of the day, if your taxes are too high, that means your government does too much. And that's the goal of me as a county council candidate, to take a close look at all the things that we do and require that all of those things are justified. If they're not, then they would never get my yes vote on the county council.
Yes, go ahead. Absolutely.
Well, that's interesting too, and I'm glad you brought that up because I just read this today. 3 families in this country own more than half of the U.S. wealth than the lower 50%, and that's the Bezos family, the Gates family, and the Buffett family. Now, if that don't make you feel poor, 4 U.S. companies are worth over $1 trillion. Apple, worth $1.86 trillion. Microsoft, worth $1.53 trillion. Amazon, worth $1.52 trillion, and Alphabet, that's Google, worth $1 trillion. So they don't pay very much taxes, but we do. So we got to get some guts and do something about it. You can do that at the polling place.
All right. Thank you very much. Next question, and this is again to everyone. What will you do to work together with other government entities, for example, city council, school board, etc., to collaborate on projects and avoid requests for too much funding all at once? Give some examples here. I'll leave those examples for right now. If you have specific questions, I can kind of detail what this individual was saying. But just in general, what will you all do to work with other government entities?
I'll jump. Is this on?
Yes.
There it is? Okay. I have 2 friends in here that are out serving the county council, Tammy Boland, Curtis Saban. Guys, do we work well together? Yeah. We have sidebar conversations, whether it's at the Swope downtown, Tammy and I having lunch. We work together collectively to figure out how to do this. You've heard how these pieces come together. Commissioners are the executives. We run the county. City of Terre Haute is in the county. The mayor runs the city, but he has to rely on the city council members here to move the money forward, and ordinances. We make the laws. We all have to work together. And I will say this with absolute efficacy. We have kicked tail in the last 3 years on working together on projects. That's been unheard of. It wasn't done before, and I take great pride in that.
Well, I would. I've been to a few. Is this? I can tell it's
Yes, we
working.
can hear you, yeah.
I would disagree with that. I've been to council meetings, and it doesn't look like the council has ever been talked to about what the commissioners are proposing. I definitely think communication needs to be better. And, you know, as I talk to people that work in county government, they don't feel like there's a communication, or they don't feel like there's good communication. So that is something that I believe in. I believe in collaboration. I will work with anybody, whether you're Republican, Democrat, liberal, or conservative. I don't care, because I want Terre Haute to be better. I want Vigo County to be better. We can do better.
I would say, you know, the commissioners meet every other Tuesday, open commissioner meetings, and, you know, I mean, I frequently pop in there and hear what they're up to. You know, Brenda and I talk, Mike and I talk, Chris and I talk. You know, I feel completely informed on what they're up to. I just think in recent months, I would have to say I feel some pushback on election time. I think that's a fact. You know, politics kind of gets scrunchy sometimes. It's hard to believe, isn't it? Well, a little bit hard to believe.
Thank you.
I think communication between the city and county is key to the success of our community, and it's very important that we all work together.
All right. Moving on to the next question. How difficult is it to represent and advocate for the people in your district when you have pressure from external forces? And this is again for both commissioner and county candidates. Go ahead.
I will start on that one. How difficult it is? Well, it's almost impossible. There's hardly anybody that knows who their county council representative, who their city council representative, who the mayor is, who's your township trustee, who's on the library board here. Who the heck knows? I'm pretty well informed, and I couldn't tell you who's on the library board or these other entities, but they certainly have an effect on the money that you pay every May and November and such. So what would I recommend that you do? What I'd recommend is you try and take a look at the principles that people who are running for office espouse, what principles are going to guide them when it comes time to raise their hand and say yes or no. In my case, my principles are significantly limited government, free markets, personal responsibility, and individual liberty. Those are the principles that are going to guide me. When I was on the city council, one time they said, oh, we don't need to listen to Ryan. We know what he's going to say. They meant that as an insult, that I wasn't politically astute. I took it as a high compliment that every time I voted, those principles are what influenced my vote.
Okay. Absolutely. How difficult is it to represent and advocate for the people in your district when you have pressure from external forces?
Well, I don't think it's hard at all. I've built my business on honesty, integrity, and transparency. And, you know, if I'm elected commissioner, I will do what's right. I won't take those external forces into play. You know, I have a track record of honesty, integrity, and transparency, and I will continue to do that.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I would have to say, as a council person, I mean, it's not hard to make a decision that you think is right. It's not like you do it because it's something you care about doing. You're not making a flock of money, I'll tell you that right now. You do it because it's the right thing to do. You make a decision because you just do the right thing. You don't do it to get reelected, that's for sure. I mean, what the heck? You pull the trigger and do it. I ran for this council seat because nobody pulled the trigger on that stinking jail project. I wanted to get it. The judge said build a jail. They wouldn't make a decision. I said, boys, when I walk through that door and sit down in that council seat, I'm going to make the motion to build that stinking jail. You better be ready to vote yay or nay. And they said, well, don't do it tonight. I said, oh, tonight. And I did, and every dang one of them voted yes. That was the end of it. We built the jail. Have the guts to do what's right.
I'm not a career politician. I'm a public servant. So I think for me, I'll do what's right for the citizen of my district.
Go ahead.
Rondell, I don't entirely understand the question, but Mr. Cummins, I want to follow what he said because he did a good job with that. I'm 50 years old now. I just turned it. I have a lot of life experiences. What I don't have are conflict of interest. As many of you know me, I'm not tied to any certain party. I'm a Democrat, but I'm very, very, very independent. I look at what's right for the community as a whole. In this job, you have an opportunity to make a lot of friends, and you have an opportunity to lose a lot of friends. And I've lost a lot of friends in this job because I've had people come to me with expectations that, hey, I put a sign in your yard or I slid you a $100 bill during your campaign. I need you to do this for me. And I don't do it unless it's the right thing to do for the county as a whole. So I don't have any side businesses. I'm in a unique position, a good position, where I can afford to do this job. I'm not relying on this job by any means, so I don't have any conflicts of interest. I'm not going to do a deal for somebody with hopes that if I don't get reelected, I'm going to be employed.
Absolutely.
I would just like to, what Carlene said, the same way. I'm not a career politician. I'm doing this because I love my community. That's it. Bottom line. I don't have any other agenda. I don't have any other special interests. I have had a grassroots campaign that we started from nothing, and I'm building it up now to where, I think people are seeing what I can bring to the table. No special interests at all.
Very much. Okay. And as we're answering this questions, I hope you're seeing that we have some levity where we can kind of bounce back and forth. We're not so straight-laced. So if you have something else that you want to add, by all means, as long as we have time, which it seems like we do, we're doing all right. Let's move on to the next question. And it says, are you educated about the flood zones in Vigo County, and would you be in favor of having engineers reevaluate those flood zones? And that is to anyone who would like to answer that question.
Okay, I'll start.
Go ahead.
The answer is I have no earthly idea or anything. When we built our business down there, we built the building about 4 feet above the street because we didn't want any water there. But no, I'm not familiar with that at all. But I would say this, as a member of the county council, if I was given an ordinance to approve a big chunk of money for something along these lines, I would do the same thing that I did years ago when we were talking about dealing with combined sewer overflow in the city of Terre Haute, and that is sit down with the people who did have that kind of expertise. I spent hours with a gentleman, the civil engineer from Rose-Hulman, educating me about combined sewer overflow systems. I had no idea or anything, but that's how I would approach problems like this in this question if I were a member of the county council.
And if you live where Ryan and I live, we live right across the fence from each other. You would want to know about things like that because the Thompson Ditch runs right past our house out there. Those are the kinds of things that you do think about, and like where it does run. And remember when they cut the ditch down there by Honey Creek and the folks got flooded out down around South Vigo and all that area in there. Those are things you do need to know about in the government, and you got to know who to call to find out about that stuff. But those are things you don't necessarily need to specialize in, but you got to know who to call. And so those are the things that you do when you guys got guys like Larry Robbins around, who's a flipping genius. He's so smart about that kind of stuff.
Good.
I kind of, sort of, because I have some experience with the flood. When that big flood came through, my husband lost his office, his medical practice, and he had to move out. So because of that experience, I did went and do some research for the different flood areas. But I'm willing to educate myself and learn.
Thank you very much. All right. All right, go ahead.
I get excited about flooding and wetlands. I think most of you know that. I see some grins back there. As somebody that was heavily involved with building the Wabashiki wetlands. But that's not what we're going to talk about. Your question has to do with flood insurance when you get down to it. Vigo County, after the 2008 flood, things changed. Federal government came in and says, hey, if you're going to live here, you're going to pay more money. Or they're saying, hey, you can't get insurance. So we're in the process right now with area planning. Sydney is our expert with waterways, flooding, and stuff like that. I cannot tell you what the final result of the plan, because the plan's been done, but we can't release it yet. I'm trying to look at something here. I just need to put this away. Here's the deal. More than likely, the amount of properties that are considered in the floodplain are going to be reduced tremendously. That data will be released. What does that mean, Ryan? It means possible lower tax rates. It means possible lower mortgage rates, possible lower insurance rates, because those properties are pulled out of what was considered a floodplain. And Robbie, I respect that, so when you do that up, I'm done, okay? Thanks.
Thank you. All right. So moving on to the next question. This one's specifically for commissioners, but we may be able to open it up for county council candidates. But commissioner candidates, please discuss what plans are in the works for protecting, or what plans you may have in the works for protecting the homeless. And this one specifically says during severe weather.
Well, it's my understanding that during severe cold weather, we do have warming stations that they can go to. As far as the homelessness problem, I am definitely working on that. I'm a member of the Terre Haute Realtor Association, and we are breaking ground on Veterans Day for the veterans, for the homeless veterans. I'm sorry, it's called Veterans Village for homeless veterans. And we'll be building 6 tiny homes on the north end of town. I think it's definitely important that we come up with a plan, but I believe, again, that we do have warming stations where they can go at this time.
Robbie, I need 20 minutes for this one.
We'll start with one, and we'll see where that goes.
The homeless outreach, that's something I've been involved with for 15, 20 years. I serve as co-chair of the Homeless Coalition. I have for the last 3 years. The warming plan that we have, I don't want this to be an I, me thing. I designed it. I designed it with the help of many people in this community. The Episcopal Church, St. Stephen's on 7th Street, they stepped up. Reach Services, Mental Health America. I could take 2 minutes and name off everybody that was involved. The fact is this guy gets in his truck, I drive around the community, I pick them up, and I transport them to where they need to be so that they don't die. Because that's what happened here. Near the Heritage Trail 4 years ago, a man died just trying to be warm. How I got in the homeless world, driving my boat on the Wabash River, it's 18 degrees, if you can believe that, and I saw a homeless camp by the river. I made a social media post. I said, hey, I need a tent, I need a sleeping bag. John, what happened? Hundreds of people dropped stuff off at my house. That's where this started. So yeah, do we need a shelter? Well, we have it in place. And there's that stop sign again. Sorry.
All right, we can always come back. I'm going to open that up to county council candidates. Would you like to answer that question at all about the homeless, and just generically speaking about the homeless situation in the county? What would be your plans, or how would you like to take on that issue?
I just look to Brendan with great admiration and awe at how his heart is so big. And he's out there freezing his butt off every winter, driving around looking for people who need help. And he never quits, and he just keeps doing it. I mean, it's remarkable. And people just tag along behind him, helping him and bringing things, blankets and coats and hats and mittens and you name it. And God bless you.
Thanks for your help.
I'll just piggyback off of that. Thank you, Brandon. And we do have a problem with the homeless situation in our county. And I'll just leave it to the professional. And if elected, I'll do whatever I can to help.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right. And this one, again, specifically is directed toward the commissioner candidates. And the question is, who draws the district lines, and how long have the current lines existed? That's the closest thing I will ask to a Jeopardy question, because that seems to have a specific answer.
Yeah, and, I feel bad for Mark because a lot of these questions aren't fair for him. I mean, these are questions that he can't answer. So,
Well, and to be fair, these are public questions, so
I
this
get
is
that.
not,
I
this
get
is not a,
so
I would say this isn't a gotcha
sorry for
situation.
you.
These
Okay, I
are
retract
questions
my
that they've
statement
asked.
that
Yeah.
I felt sorry for Mark because these aren't fair. All right.
I would say, yeah, this
No,
is,
but it's a unique thing, you know, and we had this exercise recently, it's based off census data, and we thought about playing the gerrymandering game around the table, not doing that. But Mike, Chris, and I, we work well together. We sat around this oval table, and we tried to figure out how to do it. We worked with our Larry Robbins, our engineer. We worked with Scott Barber, our GIS guy, and Ryan Wickens, and we did the math. Mike Morris has the largest amount of people. I think it's 36,000 in his district. I'm just shy of him at 34,000. Chris Schweitzer's district, District 2, which is the far west side, makes no sense. That district has the least amount of people at close to 30,000. So basically, can I have a little bit of your time to keep talking about this? Robbie, please, thanks. I'd like to talk. Thank you, Mark. So that's
we'll give
how
you
that
30
works.
more seconds, yeah.
If you go back to the 1950s, everything ran east to west. So you had your north, your center, and your south district. Now it's north. Okay.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, let's ask this question, and this is for everyone. What are 2 priorities you feel you could accomplish as either our commissioner or county council member?
I'll take that. One thing that's been important to me since I got on the council was to raise the pay rate for county employees. It's been dreadfully low for years and years. It's been a crummy pay. When companies come in here, they ask 3 questions most of the time. They'll say, how safe is your community? How good is your education system? How much do you pay your employees? And I thought, why did they ask them how much we pay our employees? Because it sets a standard, and their families might want a job. Oh, duh. And so I thought, we got to get this pay rate up. So, I want to be on the wage committee, and so I got on the budget committee, and we raised it up. But I got to stop. But I'm going to move just a little bit quick. We raised it up 4%, 5%, 5%, and it helped them so much because they weren't able to make it, and we were losing employees.
Thank you. 2 priorities, yes.
2 priorities. It probably won't surprise anybody that say one of my first priorities would be to have lower taxes, and the year after that have lower taxes, and after that I'd try and lower taxes. That would be one of my priorities right there. You accomplish that by taking a close look at what government actually does. When I talked earlier about the principles that guide me, I talked about significantly limited government. That's a government that only does the things that it can actually do, the essential functions of the protection of life, the protection of liberty, the protection of property. Anything beyond that goes beyond my definition of limited government. And to the extent that I could move Vigo County back to that model, that would be my second priority and what I would consider a success.
Yes, we have 2 major issues that are holding us back to grow and prosper, and that is our workforce, or lack of a workforce, an adequate workforce, and a lack of affordable housing. We simply do not have the housing for the people that live here now that are wanting to move up, let alone people that are wanting to move in town to take jobs. We've heard it before. We have companies that want to come to our county, and they decide not to because there is no housing. We lost out on the F-35 because of that, because we did not have enough adequate housing, any housing. It was going to take 10 years to get housing to have places for these people to live. We hear time and time again, we have businesses here in town that are busing in people to work because we don't have an adequate workforce. So those are the 2 things that we have to address, in my opinion, right off the bat, is housing and workforce. And in my opinion, housing comes first. Build it and they will come. We have to have a place for people to live, whether they're here now or whether they want to move in.
I've got ties to Owen County. A friend of mine who works at one of the medical companies was telling me that their employees, Their temporary employees come from Vigo County. They actually bus them from Terre Haute to there. I say that anecdotally without proof. That's something we'll probably look at. Affordable housing is a key thing. We do need more homes. We all know that. I was at a session last week where somebody in healthcare said what we need are 30 more homes in the $800,000 plus range. I damn near fell out of my chair. I don't know who these people are that can afford $800,000 homes, especially when the mortgage rates are 6%, even if you have excellent credit. Here's our issue in Vigo County. You ready? This is where I get animated. I'm not yelling. It's just how I talk. We have a problem with people being able to afford the homes they live in now. We talk about building affordable housing. What about the situations people are in? Interest rates are up. Insurance is up. Cost of materials are up. We're going to rebuild our deck at our house, $30,000 to rebuild the deck. And it's not that big. But when a board, a 4x8 sheet of wood is $80, we have problems.
I would say, for me, it would be jobs and public safety. When I say public safety, I mean like in our neighborhoods. Our kids need to feel safe riding their bikes, going to the playground. When I talk about jobs, I mean not all our kids want to go to a 4-year college. So maybe you work more with the trades so that the trades, high schoolers get into the trades, say probably from junior year or sophomore year. We have good trade jobs in this town, and there's kids who graduate from high school and just hang around after high school, and they just sit around doing nothing. There is good, well-paid trade jobs with good benefit that they're not taken advantage of. So I would lean in on that.
Did everybody have a chance to answer that wanted to? All right. So that actually concludes the question portion of the segment. What I'm going to do, because we actually have a few extra minutes, we're going to go back. If there was any issue or any question that you wanted to add more to that maybe you felt you didn't have enough time to speak on, this is your time to let it out at this point. Anyone?
How many times can we do that?
Let's see. When the
35 minutes.
yeah, when the big hand gets to 45, that's when we'll have to get the closing statements in.
Just an FYI, not all the questions were in there.
What's that now?
Just an FYI, not all the questions were there, because mine wasn't.
All right, thank you very much. Go ahead. If you'd like to address what you wanted to go through, we can do that.
I didn't have anything in mind. I was just,
Okay.
But I can surely come up with something. Yeah, I'll do it. I'll jump in. So county commissioners have a very, very powerful and important role. And it's a role that I didn't understand as much when I actually got in office. Sitting down with Brad Anderson and Judy Anderson at the table, we've had some very tense moments. Is this a time thing again, Robbie?
1 minute.
The amount of opportunity for conflicts of interest is massive. I'm going to give an example. Building inspection department. We have a building inspection department that works with area planning. It gets confusing. When you come in the building and you're wanting to build a garage, you don't know which way or where to go. As a commissioner, I have no outside interest. I'm not tied to any other companies. This is a full-time job that you need to be dedicated 100% to. You cannot have outside interests. Yes, expertise can help you in decisions, but ethically it is not right for a commissioner that has a business to be over an entity that would serve that business. Am I making sense? And that's something that I really struggle with.
Take 1 more minute. Take 1 more.
You can't do it. I'll be the first one to tell you, this job will screw up your family. And I'm not going to get weird on you, but the 9 o'clock phone calls, the leaving, to go take care of something, I've had to refocus. My slogan when I ran was focused on our future. My focus had to be redirected recently because my future was like, well, I can't do it. You have to be dedicated to this job. You guys vote for the commissioner. You have expectations. You have to be all in. You cannot have an outside interest redirecting you. And I am going to stop on that because I got a little weird on you, Ron.
Oh, it's okay.
So,
it's all right.
When I talk about my family, I'm out.
It's all right.
I would just say, I have said and will continue to say, I will be a full-time commissioner. Again, I have built my reputation and my business in the last 26 years on honesty and integrity and transparency. And to be even questioned about that is unfair. If there's a conflict of interest that comes up, I will recuse myself. You know what? It seems like around here in Vigo County, we want to recycle politicians all the time. The same old people. If you don't want to recycle, vote for me. I have no special interests. I've worked my life to build a business, you know, that I could be proud of and that I could pass on to my kids one day. My only desire for this job is because I love this community and I want to make it a better place. That's it, bottom line. And again, I see that on the Facebook pages and I hear it now, and it's wrong. And it's not right. And I can again, you know what? We want to do politics as usual, vote for my opponent. If you want to try something new, vote for me, an outsider that has no special interest and just loves his community.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so we're kind of doing a back and forth situation here. This is not a debate, so we won't engage necessarily in that. However, if there is a specific part of that you would like to respond to, you can have a couple seconds to respond to that, and then we will move on to the next topic.
We recently hired a building inspector. In the interview, he assured me that he was going to get out of his interest in an electrical company. I don't think that occurred. And I have severe issues with our building inspector who owns an electrical company going out inspecting somebody else's work. That's wrong. What I would like to do, Ryan, this will probably floor you. I want to eliminate the building inspection department. I don't think it's necessary. People are building in Clay County. People are building in Clay County more than they are in Vigo, because why? They don't have to deal with bureaucracy. They don't have to deal with somebody that has an electrical company that's going to come to their house to inspect their work and tell them over and over it can't be done. That person did not go away from his company. We hear this all the time. If I'm elected, I will do this. My slogan this year is goals set, promises kept. Go on my website. You can see some of the things I've picked out on what I've done. All of you that know me know I'm not doing this for personal gain. It's just not what it is. I'm not a career politician. I served 2 years in county council, and I'm in my first term on this. I don't know what my career is going to be, but I'm not looking for my next job by any means.
Well, I can't believe you say you would want to get rid of the building inspector. You know, I've built in counties that don't have a building inspector, and it's not a good thing. You know what? You want to talk about the taxpayers and the consumers. We need to worry about them. And if you're having somebody that's not licensed, if you don't have to have a building inspection done to know if their foundation's being put in right, to know if their framing's been done right or their electrical's done right. That's crazy. I mean, you know, maybe Clay County is getting some people to build over there because of that, but in the long run, you know, it's not worth it. We want our housing to be safe.
All right, thank you very much. Political discourse. I'm going to swing over to county council members and again ask the question if there were any topics that we discussed that you felt like you weren't able to get everything across that you needed to get across. This is kind of your time to do so. Sounds like it to me. Sounds like it to me. All right. So with that being said, I do want to make a quick note, and I've just gotten this note from our sponsors too. If you submitted a question that was not answered today, after we get the closing statements from our candidates, please come forward. You can ask them directly your question. That's what that moment is for in time. Okay. So with that being said, very interesting, very informative, very lively conversation, which I know that our public and members of the community appreciate this discourse because that's why it's so important. Yes.
Let me just say, Rondrell, you're just the most wonderful master of ceremonies and moderator, and we really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I did pay her $50 to say that ahead
and
of
I
time.
want that money right now.
No, thank you. I definitely appreciate it, and I just appreciate being here. But okay, at this point, we are going to go into our closing statements. At this time, we're going to kind of start on the opposite end and start with our county council candidates. And we'll start with Carleen Grant Sackbun, and we will give you a minute and a half to give a closing statement, okay?
I don't need that long. I'm proud to be an Ocean, and I will work hard and to serve this community. Change begins locally with people like myself and you. I would greatly appreciate your vote in this election, and thank you all for coming and listening to us tonight.
Thank you very much.
Is this off or,
We
that's
can
it,
hear
I
you.
got
There
you,
you go.
good.
You're good.
Carlene's a hardworking candidate. I see her every place all around the county. Thanks to all of you for coming tonight. It's so good to see you're still smiling. I guess that's a good sign. I want to tell you, I do enjoy being on the council. It's a real pleasure to serve the folks in my district and the council and work with the people in the courthouse and the annex. I do put a lot of time into the job. My husband passed away 5 years ago, and I asked myself, what in the heck am I going to do with myself now? My mother and father had passed away, and my brother, and I didn't have much to do with my time, and I like to stay awful busy. And I do love government work, and so I am the mom to the ISU men's basketball team. I guess I might tell you that. You know, those kids come here from away from home, and they're just big kids. They don't know that, but they get homesick, and so I do feed them a meal or two and take care of them. So I threw myself into the county government again, and I do love working for the people in the district, and I hope you'll feel free to call on me anytime. And if I only last till December, I'll love doing that, and if I make it 4 more years, it'll be my pleasure to serve you.
Okay, thank you. When I told my wife I was coming to this, she said, for God's sake, will you not yell at everybody like you usually do? So I've got to take a second, this opportunity to explain. I learned my public speaking, what little ability there is, at a place called Parris Island, South Carolina, training young Marines. My battalion commander at the time, James Livingston, he was a Medal of Honor winner, said, Lieutenant, when you start getting nervous, just start talking louder and louder and louder. So I tend to do that, so if you'll bear with me on that, I would appreciate it. I am running for county council in the 3rd district. It's kind of difficult to know where whether you're in the 3rd district or not, but I've got a little map. It's very difficult to read, but I kind of labeled all the boundary streets. It's basically approximately Maple Avenue on the north, Holman Street on the south, Keene Lane on the east, and 8th to 9th Street on the west. And if you live in that area, you have the opportunity to vote for either myself or Vicki. I can tell you that I have a lot invested in this community for the last 40 years, and I'd like to continue to develop that investment as a member of the Vigo County Council. And if you would consider me in the 3rd district, I would certainly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. And now our commissioner candidates. Who would like to go first? Go ahead, Mark. Go ahead.
All right. I'll stand up for this. My wife is here now. I just want to introduce my wife. Just tell you a little bit about her. We do everything together. And when I told her we were going to do this, she's like, no way. And it took a while. It took a while to get her. Am I timed for this? I just wondered if I was timed.
Technically a minute and a half, yes, you are. But if you notice,
Okay,
I
I'm
have
sorry.
not enforced
That's okay.
one-time cue
I saw
tonight.
it.
Go ahead.
Anyway,
Yes.
anyway, it took a while to get my wife on board, but once she was, it's been full steam ahead. We met back in 1983 working at Wendy's, and we've been together since. We've been married 36 years. We have 3 adult children, 2 grandbabies, and 1 on the way. And Dawn does have pictures if you want to see them afterwards. She'll show you those pictures. But again, you know, somebody told me when we started this to have fun with this because it is a good experience. And it has been a great experience. Tonight wasn't necessarily the fun, but it's okay. As I told you, when I came here tonight, I had 3 events tonight. A little stressed. I ended up missing my personal event because I wanted to come here and talk to people that, you know, you might not vote for me. Different people that I wouldn't have saw at Riley. That's why I came here. Because at the end of the day, I love this community. If you vote for me, I'll work my butt off to make this a better place. If you vote for Mr. Kearns, I will give him 100% support. That's how much I love this community.
So in Vigo County, we've seen a trend where people get elected to office and they don't have any challengers. When I learned that Mark was filing, I really didn't know him. We talked about something in the last 2 years, but that was my involvement with him. He's well-liked, he's well-respected in his neighborhood, and he's a good person. I was glad that he's running because that's what we need. We need good people to seek office. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not the right one to be in there, and I say that with levity. It is good people, and I think the text message we had was something you said, it'll give people a choice between we need good people. So wait a minute, is he saying I'm not good? But that's not the case. Mark and I share friends, and I'll tell you, it bugs me when I see them at a table with him. It bugs me even more when he's bidding on a silent auction item to do something with me. I can't believe you did that. But anyway. We raised $3,000 is what we raised. So, you know, if you want to, my goal set promises kept thing. Take a look at it on my website, Kearns for Vigo. You can see what I've done. Go back and look at what I said I would do when I was running. I've done almost everything. Having good competition makes sure that I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing versus the gravy train where the same old politicians keep getting recycled. Mayor, I'm glad you're here tonight. I don't mean to point you out, but you know I do that every time. Earlier, when you were gone, I shared that we all work together. Can I have an affirmation for that? It is very important. All of us that run for office, we're doing it for the community. Thanks.
Thank you. And whereas you all may not have always had fun, we definitely enjoyed you all talking to us because it's so informative. So thank you so much for being here. Can we give all of our candidates a round of applause for being here tonight? Again, and we just appreciate you all coming out tonight. We will have our final session next Tuesday, same time, same place. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful evening. This is your time now to ask the candidates the questions that you would like to ask. Have a wonderful night.